Well, good afternoon, folks. It's me, John Caspian. We're going to be doing some painting. John Galvin is not able to do his 4 o'clock stream, so I'm doing it before I got to do some stuff tonight. Alright, so contrast is, everyone's talked about contrast. Everyone either likes it, dislikes it, loves it, hates it, whatever. But the biggest thing that people seem to forget is that it's all about speed. So I'm going to try to paint as much as possible in about half an hour. So right now I've got a Reaper Bones model here. I've also got a little baby dog right there. That's a cutie. Hi there, doggy. That's so nice. I've got the massive Deathclaw from Fallout. Look at him. Eat the head. So I already did the top part, but then I tried a Zenithal with pitch black, and the pitch black doesn't work at all with contrast. So I went ahead and re-undercoated him with white. Then we have a Migo from Dust 1947. He's one of the Migo Assault Squad, so he's cool. And then I got some bolt action models, which I wanted to do some military drab and some bluish grays. These are the Germans, so we're going to give them their grayish, bluish uniform. He's going to be good. Now also, we have Conquest from Parabellum coming out. Look how big this guy is compared to a standard 32mm model. Huge. Massive. So yeah, and the horse. Look at the horsey. Also big. So, oh yeah, and finally, I wanted to try out the Crix little baby warjack thing. I forget what it's called, it's been a while. But I've been wanting to paint him up and try it out. And then finally, we got a Hillbilly there. So I'm going to see if I can paint his blues, denim, paint the barrel there some sort of brown, and the gun and all that. The only paint I don't have me with this second, oh I do have it right here, is the metal. So then I'm going to use Vallejo gunmetal, which is a nice dark metal color. I recommend that a lot. It is awesome for dark metallics. And we're going to try to paint as quickly as possible. And also, let's go ahead and talk about 40K Apocalypse. Let's hear some opinions and what y'all are thinking about it. First of all, I just saw the website that they have, which has Becca Scott, I think is her name. It's weird. It has like this Team Fortress 2 like jazz 40s, 50s music. I thought it was a little weird to have that. Not my cup of tea style-wise, but I guess that's okay. I'm going to start off with the Snakebite leather here. See if I can get it to where you can see which pot I'm dealing with. Yep, kind of not really, but it's okay. Snakebite leather is what I'm using here. And then some people were talking about putting some of the contrast onto a palette, but why? Why don't you just put it back in the pot so you don't, end up wasting it on the palette? And I'm going to try as much as possible to be still on this as I go about it. Now I'm priming with a pure white, and then of course the highlights are going to look a little funky compared to Wraithbone, but I'm okay with it because I like pure white base for all that stuff. And I'm going to try my best to be as careful as possible, considering I got all this model, and the moment you get some onto a you get some onto a part where you want to do later with contrast, it just doesn't work as well. So I'll try to be careful. I'm actually using a small wash brush, which I found the hairs tend to do a lot better over time than all of those base brushes and whatnot. Those fray so easily. And these ones deteriorate, but look at the point still. Like, it's still a pretty solid point that it's got going on. So I'm fairly happy with that. Let me know what y'all are painting and what you're up to, and we'll talk about some of that Apocalypse now. I just realized turning the model over is going to be a little difficult on camera. Whoopsie. That went too fast. Too quickly. Good. It's actually a good sign. I don't mind that at all. So already, that's going to be a decent base coat for the front. I will get his neck here behind. See if I can carefully get that. So 40K Apocalypse, let's see. They started off saying the rules are same-ish. Obviously, you're rolling dice. You've got your D6 for things like hitting, but then your damage is on like a D12 because you have strength versus infantry, or they say strength versus personnel, so I guess that's fine. So non-vehicles. And then you have strength versus armor. or tanks, I think is what they called. So SAT and then SAP. So you have typically, for most weapons, a higher number if you are weaker. So for instance, if you've got a las gun, you're probably going to be like 10 or 11 against tanks, I imagine. Not very good odds. But the interesting thing to me was the phases they were talking about. So they had an initiative phase and then an order phase, and you can actually give your orders to units before you apply damage, so that in a given round, no matter what, you actually get to activate with a model. So even if you've been shot to death with one model, you can still go with them, which is nice. So I like that. For the underneath of this jacket, I'm actually just going to use this wildwood. And this wildwood is great for wood, but also for like pants and like dark browns. It works really well. Good coverage overall. I like it. I like it a lot. What contrast paints have y'all liked the best, by the way? If you have them, if you don't have them, are you interested at all in them? I mean, to me, it's like skipping the wash, so I'm fine with it. A lot of things, especially now, I just did his front of his jacket and his pants, not perfectly, but, you know, it took 2 minutes. So I'm pretty cool with that. Let's get his face. Now, the cool thing to me is, honestly, this Guilliman's flesh. A lot of folks like the Dark Oath flesh. I haven't tried it yet, but this Guilliman flesh, man, oh, so good. So I'm literally going to put one coat. That's it, just one little thing. I'll show you some faces of my Genestealer cultists. So here's one guy, and that face is just one little coat of Guilliman's flesh. Now this guy, 2 coats of Guilliman's flesh. So if you go on darker tan look, and for me, that kind of face, it's perfect. It's better than what I can do without it, so I'm going to stick with it. So one little easy coat. I can always come back in later if I need to, but for now, I'm good. And then the other thing I noticed is that it does, of course, like to pool a lot because it's what it's designed for, but then it pools a lot into the eyes. Not super happy with it being in the eyes, of course, but overall, bam, that's pretty good. I might add a second coat later, but for now, that's good. I'm going to go ahead and do this hillbilly while I'm at it. Just try to get his face, but it's going to be difficult. Let's see if we can do it. Not too bad. His hair I'm going to do with the snakebite leather. Or should I go with a gray color? I might go with a gray and wash it down. Maybe keep it white because he's meant to be like an old guy. Has too much of his drink. So yeah, the apocalypse thing, I don't know. It's it'll be larger. That's great. You have the movement trays. So those are already available from a lot of smaller stores and whatnot, but I guess that's fine. Yeah, 2 faces done in 10 seconds. I might go a little bit thicker with the second coat. Try to get it done. So yeah, front of his jacket. Now this middle part, I haven't tried this yet, but I'm going to give a shot. Space Wolves Gray. So let's see if this is pretty good overall. It's supposed to have a more blue tint. His gloves I'm going to keep as black because I think that's interesting to have a detective with black gloves. So Space Wolves Gray. I got to get up close here because it's a really small detail. I don't want to mess it up too much. Yeah. Then I'm going to go in black for his tie. There we go. Done. All right. Next up, Black Templar for the tie and the gloves. And then for the gray, I'm going to use the gunmetal. Oh, and the shoes. I can't forget the shoes. Gray for the gunmetal and the hat. What do y'all think I should paint the hat color? Because I think it looks more like a black to me. Which this Black Templar ends up being gray if you do a really light coat with it. Pretty gray. We'll go ahead and do the hat gray. It's fine. Blackish, grayish, A-OK-ish. Not bad at all. Of course, I'm just doing the front of the models right now, really because I don't want to spin it around and take time readjusting the camera. That's going to take too much time. The whole point of this is speed. Now, when I was doing my Genestealer cultists, I got this guy done in 10 minutes. This one right here. Literally 10 minutes. I of course, I don't add highlights to the metal because, it naturally has some in there. So that was literally one coat. And this model is going to end up being one coat as well. So I think I'll add a little bit of highlight to his jacket. I think it's a little bit too bright. And contrast tends to get a little pastel-ish look. Yeah, it's not too bad. A couple spots missing, but overall I'm okay with that. Can always come back in later, fill it in. But that's good. I like that gray with the blue tinting. That's nice. So that makes me happy. Let's see if we can get in here with just the tie. I think I did it. Did I do it? Yeah, I think I did it. Whew. Y'all, painting on camera is way different. You have to, like, not move the model. Normally when it's in my hand, I can move the model okay. But not moving it is a pain. Pain in the butt. Now, this little dude, this little doggy, we're going to paint it either like Lulu or Coco, David's dogs. So I'm thinking we'll go with Coco because I don't have a white. I have a brown. And we're going to do snakebite leather. So it's a nice little brown color. And then we could do wildwood, but I think Coco's more of a nut brown color, the doggy. And then look how fast it does things like fur. Can you see that? Bam. Super quick. This thing, I'm just covering the model with it. I don't care about being super precise. Not concerned. So yeah, with the Apocalypse, I think it'll be fast. I have an issue with the video that they did because they take like 5 minutes before they talk about the beginning steps of the game. And for me, that's a big pet peeve. If I'm looking up how to play something, can you please, like, 30 seconds tops? I want to learn how to play the game. And they didn't really talk too much about it. It seemed very vague. So, like, a new player is not going to be able to watch that video and actually play. They're still going to have to look at rules. And that kind of defeats the purpose of a how to play for me. Because you would think that after a how to play video, you would be able to fairly follow along pretty easily. So yeah, that was an issue. And the weird music, and that's like very happy for Grimdark. It was weird. It didn't seem to fit right. So I don't know. What do you think about that look of this little guy here? I think the overall snakebite leather doesn't look too bad, especially if you put that on smaller surfaces. I mean, this is a big jacket that this guy has. But overall, I mean, besides the metal, I can do the metal in 2 seconds here if I put this on the palette and just get it done. And this model is done in a couple minutes. I mean, the backside's not, but, if I weren't on camera, I would just do the backside along with the front all at once and not worry about it. Let's see. He's in focus. He's good to go. Bam. There's a flashlight. And then I have regular paints I can always clean up if I need to. And the backside of the gun. All right. Not bad at all. I missed a little part in the inside of his arm because I can't see past the camera. Other than that, though, I think that's good. So that model, I will say, give that an extra couple of minutes for the backside because I'd have to paint the back. But overall, I could do that without rambling in about, 5 minutes. Not bad at all. Especially Reaper Bones. They're not the most detailed models, so you don't have to worry too much. Let's try the blue Space Wolf's Gray on this German soldier. So he's a little bit down from the other guy. So let's refocus. Bam. Perfect. You should be able to see him nice and easy. Let's do, yes, Space Wolf's Gray. What do we want to get it on? Just mostly everything but his boots, I'd say, and his hands, Avoiding the boots and the hands would be fine. Very good. This should be fast. Let's see. Not too thick at first. We can always thicken it up later. And just get it on. Now, this doesn't perfectly match the actual German soldiers, but remember, sometimes when you're painting, opposition in the color, you can mute it by having similar tones. What I mean by that is, if you have, this is a big thing in light, if you have a similar color nearby, like if I have other blues near this one, then it would end up looking more blue because of the similarity. Contrast works well to see a difference, but there's a trick that they use where you have a bunch of horizontal lines of 3 different colors, and then in between the lines, you actually have a brown ball. And then depending on what color is in front of the ball, that's the color the ball looks like. I can link it. I was going to link it a little bit before talking about paint, but maybe I'll bring it up tomorrow in the rambles. But if you have colors similar to it, you can actually increase the effect. So if I don't have any other blues around, I might be able to decrease the amount that it looks blue, and it could look more just like a plain gray with the cool shadows, which is very similar to a GIGN, if you know the German SWAT version. The GIGN is kind of a bluish, dark blue. Now for his helmet, that's just going to be gunmetal for now, because I forget. I haven't looked at German soldiers in a while for the, like, World War II footage. I used to be a huge World War II buff when I was a kid. So for the moment, we're just going to stick with a standard gunmetal look, and then later on, if we need to adjust that, I can always go back on top of it and add another layer. Bam, and bam. And we're going to switch brushes. We're going to go to Flesh to get his face, and then I'm going to go into the Snakebite Leather, and then the Wildwood is going to be for his gun. Snakebite Leather for his... not his boots, actually, because his boots need to be darker, but for his strap here. So Guilliman Flesh for his face. Good, you can still see him pretty well. And brushing down, letting it pool. Is it pooling anywhere funny? Yep, that's good to me. All right, done. Next up is... does his hands have gloves? No, they do not. So I got to put Guilliman Flesh there. Wish me luck. Ooh. Yeah. So what I've been doing is, if I've had a little bit too much on one spot, let's say right up here in his wrist, where I've already got some blue, I'm going to have some extra of this pooling on top of it. And no one's going to know that I had blue there first, because I'm pulling it. Bam. All right, other hand's done. Now I can move on to the gun. This is fast, man. Tell you what, it doesn't have to be perfect, just has to be fast. So Wildwood for the gun, K98 rifle, Kar 98. Look at that, already easy. Bam. I love it. What do y'all think about Apocalypse? Are you gonna play it? They got the rule set. They've got all kinds of stuff for it, I'm sure. But the battalion boxes look amazing. So I'm gonna get 2 of the Orc battalion boxes and build up my 2,000 points mech list. So you got the Mech Boy, you got the Death Dreads, Killicans, and I'm gonna have a Big Stompa and then the Gorkanaut. All right, so that's done with the Wildwood, already finished. Let's go with Black Templar for the boots, and then we're going to come in and get the final details, and he's going to be mostly done. So boots there, they're going to be kind of grayish. Now, I was wondering, has anyone washed down Black Templar into a gray? Because they said they have the Basilicanum gray, which is more of a traditional gray. But then if you can wash the Black Templar down to a gray, why wouldn't you just do that? Or put on a very, very light coat. I don't see why you wouldn't just go ahead and thin it down a little bit. That is, if it's the same overall shade. There we go. And now all that's left is the Snakebite Leather for his leather stuff. So his chin strap and his gun strap as well. So all the straps. And then you can always come in later on. I have even the smaller layer brush that I could come in and get that done if I needed to. But the difference here is great. I like the warmth difference from the Wildwood. Now, the Wildwood inside the pot looks almost black. And then once it goes on, it has that perfect woody texture to it. Or not texture, but subtle hints of the kind of the, I don't know, sepia. But this is a lot more sepia, this Snakebite Leather. Which means it really works well for those. Come on. Woo. Yep. Ah. So you can't be sloppy with it. But, bam, it's done. All right. Cool. Let me get his legs back in with the Space Wolves Gray, because I just realized I missed those completely earlier. And then the only other thing is adding a little bit of gunmetal to the gun. The rifle. There. And the top. And just right there. I think in the top part. Yeah, I'd call that tabletop quality. I said if I had a whole force of those guys like that. Assuming I can get his legs here. And then all you need besides that is the basing, and you'd have pretty much a functional force. Get here. Perfect. Beautiful. And inside here. Nice. There we go. Another model done. That took 5 to 10 minutes. I didn't track exactly when we started, but I'll track the next one. So yeah, if you did both sides because you didn't have the camera with you, you could get a little bolt action dude done. Easy peasy. Nice. So yeah, add a couple extra minutes on your time for the turning around and all that. Now this guy's going to be a little bit harder. He's the Mego assault guy, but I wanted to try this one out because he has all this like kind of fur and wings and all that. So I wanted to give it a shot and see what it's like. So we're going to try out the wings, and I'm going to do the wings brighter. No, let's see if we can do more pinkish. So Guilliman's flesh for the wings, and then we're going to do the snakebite leather for the rest of his fur / body. Let's give it a shot. Give it a shot. Very good. I just realized I was looking at the stream. I'm not sure if I think it's still going, so it should be okay. Guilliman's flesh. Let's do it. Now I'm going to put this on real thick. I'm going to try my best not to get it on the actual, like, in-between parts, because I'm going to do a bone on that. Kind of a bone color. But let's try. And again, this is skipping the extra wash phase and adding a subtle highlight. Now, the big thing about contrast, that if you're undecided on it and you're thinking, well, I want to try it out, I want to see how it is, the big thing you want to remember is that you're losing control in the shadow and the highlight. So in order to get the speed, you're sacrificing the control of the, I don't even want to say the full highlight because you can always add in your own, but the overall tone is going to change. And the highlight for the pure white ends up looking a little washed out to me, but then the highlight that I've seen for Wraithbone looks a little more natural. So if you're looking for more natural looks, then I think it's a-okay. So for this, I'm trying to go for the overall same consistency, but I think it's going to be slightly different. And that's another thing, because when you layer on multiple of these layers, it might end up being that you have a really thick coat here, like I've got that in this one here, but then you have really thin coats over here, and then different spots are thicker and thinner. So that's one, not issue, but it's one challenge that I think might happen from that. But overall, I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. Just doing that in a minute, like, takes seconds to do this, compared to me doing a base coat and making sure that it's very even. And then you have to make sure that not only does it have to be even, but I'm gonna get it at the actual right spot. There we go. That it has to be coverage. A coverage has to cover the whole thing for sure. The only problem I've had with the contrast is that I'm very careful. I'm trying to be too careful not to get it onto other parts that I want to do contrast later, such as these bone sections here. I forget what they're called. I am not a bird person at all, so I don't know. But the part that the bones and the fingertips and whatnot, the kind of hands, as it were, that hold it. So yeah, I'd say that's pretty solid. Like, overall, I could always go heavier with the wash, but I like it. That's not bad at all. I'm for my orcs for the apocalypse, and then I don't know. I've been thinking about getting into Necrons, but I'm wondering if they'll actually have some releases later on, because they recently had Forgebane, but that wasn't really a new release. That was 1 or 2 models, maybe 1. So that wasn't too great for me. Of course, I love Dust, so this is one of my Cthulhu Dust models. Beautiful. And the final one, gosh, I need to actually keep this on in front. There we go. And now that the Guilliman flesh is done, and that looks pretty darn solid, y'all. I mean, come on. I'll give it to the paint that saved another 10 minutes of work. I didn't get the inside, but for now I'm just going to keep the outside and move on from the Guilliman's flesh to the snakebite. So snakebite leather, we're going to try out the rest of his fur. And then for his, like, I guess, hand bits, I'm going to do regular because I don't have the skeletal bone, which I think is the correct thing if you're wanting skeletal happenings. You definitely want the skeletal bone. But this, I'm just going to get that all up on the inside of there. So it's not going to be perfect, just coverage. Remember, speed painting is about getting the coverage and the overall look that you want to do. So that's pretty light, and I'm going to just coat that heavier because I think that's a little too light for what I like to see. Turn it up a little bit and lock. There we go. That's better. Having a 4K camera is useful, but it's a little finicky sometimes. And I'm going to doll up the whole thing in here. The cool thing about the wash brush is that it holds a lot of pigment and paint. So I'm just going to get it in there. There we go. And I don't mind it sitting in the recesses as much, like a proper wash, just because it's fur, and I don't mind. Aw, yeah. And if it pools too much, I'm just going to draw it out because the way that they have the medium, it's some sort of gel medium or something, that it's just, you can seep it right out and then put it on another part. Save the paint. Look at that. That's beautiful. Nice. Nice little two tones. I can always go back in later. Make it prettified. But overall, I like it. So that's good. I'll do a dry brush on top of that. And then maybe add another layer if I need to. But I like it. So then there, I've got the wings and the body. And if I continue with that, it's going to look amazing. Because that already looks pretty good in just a couple of minutes. All right, who's next? Let's try out a big model with big broad areas for the most part. And that's going to be this little guy here. Hi there. So let's give it a shot. We're going to do the red. And this is the Flesh Terrors red. So if you're looking for a solid red coat, that's the one I recommend. It is this one. So that's Space Marine. And then this guy with his arms. Let me actually get him there. There. So I put it on pretty thick yesterday. I'm going to put on very thin today and see if I can avoid some of that splotchiness that happens to get on there. Wish me luck. Ugh, it is a very strong tone. Woo. Not the worst thing. And let's spread it out. And then I'm going to draw all of that contrast, if I can, toward the bottom. See if I can spread it out toward the bottom. Yeah. No. Yeah. All right. Yep, that's going to be splotchy. Whoopsie. I'm wondering if I had to thin it out more, if that would be effective. If someone has done large surfaces not so splotchy, can you let me know? Or is it just a matter of really getting a whole lot on there? And if so, kind of letting it set like that side. Try to avoid the lights there. And you can see, you can already tell as you're putting it on where it's going to get splotchy. Like that up there. I'm not even sure if I can avoid that. Yep, that's still going to be splotchy. So either way, you get a very thin coat. And that actually looks like something I could add as like a battle damage, so that's okay. And then that's the very thick coat. I'm going to stick with thin coats more often. I have a feeling that this right one's actually going to get splotchier, even though I'm trying to cover up the splotchiness. I think overall this one's going to end up looking a little less bad. And of course you can always go back in and add battle damage or weathering effects to it. This model actually's got a lot of metals, so I'm not sure that that's the best example for contrast. So let's go on to a Fallout Wasteland Warfare mini. Let's go to this lady. She has a lot of cloth on her, and this is going to be a good use of the contrast paints because we got the legs there. Stay still. I just have to hold it. So to start off with, let's do her drapes, and by that I mean her cape, as red. So we're going there first, Go on the back. And I gotta show you all some of the base stuff. So like wild wood on wood is amazing. There we go. Bam. So already you can see a little highlight involved in that, and then the wash will set in and darken a little bit. So I am extremely happy with that. I mean, I literally took 3 brush strokes, 4, and I've already got the red part done. And I don't have to touch it again as soon as it's finished. Bam. All right. So red's done. That was easy. And that's going to look nice once it's dried. So yeah, thinner coats for that's definitely better. So if you're using Flesh Terrors and you want that kind of brighter reddish pinkish highlight, then definitely recommend doing a thin coat on that, because that looks amazing. So the face that I did on the model earlier should be dried. So then that, for a single coat, that doesn't look too bad at all. Yep, I'd keep that as tabletop quality for sure. And then finally, let's do her body, and her pants are going to be like a blue. And I'm going to try out the Militarum green, finally, because I haven't actually opened this one up yet. So let's try the Militarum green on her like jacket area, or the rest of her shirt. I looked up the video. Now of course I'm blanking on the name, but the guy does a full review of the entire line and gives his recommendations based on certain things like coverage and all that. And in this case, he said the Militarum green has a general usage as a, military drab look. So I'm gonna put it on fairly thick. There's definitely a small learning curve to this, I would say. Depending on each paint seems so different to me. Because I'm putting this one on, it's already not moving as much as some of the other ones do. Now this is coming off as a really like olive color. And I guess that is the Militarum green, but it's very, maybe it's just the pure white that I'm, undercoating it with. I feel like maybe that'd be different if it was the not snakebite, the wraithbone. That might be different. All right. Yeah. So pretty vibrant. I could always take that down again to reduce some of the vibrancy, especially Fallout. Fallout's not meant to be very colorful. Well, I guess it sometimes is, depending on if you're fighting super mutants or not. But overall, it's meant to be a little more, dark and whatnot. Yeah, this is interesting. So I definitely probably want to go on with another coat of this one and get that done. All right. There we go. Done. Cool. All right, my time is up. I've got to get going. But that's not bad. So let's go over the models real quick, what we painted. So just a couple of layers on her. We got the dog in one coat of a single color. Let's get that down there. Come on. There we go. So the dog with one coat. The Mi-Go flesh at one time was really great. So that was good. Having the snakebite leather is definitely a recommendation for anything leather related. So that looks pretty darn good. Clean it up, add the backside, and then done. And then, what else did I do? Oh yeah, the red. Let's see how it's drying. Honestly, that's not really bad at all. So I like the coverage on the Flesh Terrors red. It looks a little very natural. This pooling, definitely don't recommend letting it pool. So thinner layer of the Flesh Terrors red gets a nice solid coat for me. So that's a thumbs up. I would definitely keep that. Especially because I don't like Mephiston red anymore. Not the best. Yeah, so I'm very happy. Oh, and the bolt action guy. So there he is. Definitely for this one, because that Space Marine, or the Wolf Gray, Space Wolf Gray, ends up being kind of eh. I'll give 2 layers for that for sure to darken up. It needs to be more German, But overall, I mean, if you did a whole army in a day with that look and basing, yeah, I'd play against that. No problem. Sweet. All right, y'all. Well, have a great day. Thanks for joining me, and see y'all tomorrow for Giga Rambles, 11 a.m.